Lee in the Facebook group asked, has anyone gifted equity to their children to buy them an investment property? Wondering about the pros and cons of this. Any advice would be welcome, please. Vince Scully from a live show, but welcome back to Retire Right.
G'day, Glen. It's good to be back.
Yeah, what do you take of this? Because there's probably 15 paragraphs of information that we need, but I just thought it's a good discussion point because I know a lot of people want to help their adult children financially. So how do you take this?
Obviously, this is a very personal matter, for some ways it's better that they have the money now than when you die. But I must admit, I'm a big fan of letting adult children stand on their own 2 feet. Sometimes they need a helping hand, but they should be allowed to give it a go themselves first. My deal with my boy, for what it's worth, he's now a homeowner in Victoria, was I said that if he can save his 5%.
How old's your son?
He's 25.
Yeah.
And didn't go to uni. So my deal with him was I said, look, I'll pay your lender's mortgage insurance bill if you can save 5% and convince a bank to lend you the money. And as it turned out, the Victorian government was handing out money at the beginning of COVID and he ended up not needing my assistance. So my sole contribution to that deal was organising a 5-year fixed rate mortgage at 1.99%, which is just about to come off its
well, he's about to get a bit of a wake-up knock on the door.
But he's had 2 flatmates helping to pay the bills along the way. So obviously everyone's different, and that was my view. But there's a whole bunch of complicating...
the interesting part of the question here, Vince, is gifted equity. Like, I wonder if they're talking about we've got our own property that has equity, which is the value on paper that, might be tied up. How do we gift that? And I think we need to fundamentally walk back a minute. And this is where I would love to ask Lee a million questions. Does the child want an investment property or is the parents wanting to do this to protect the kids? And this is like maybe they need a first home to live in. Maybe they need some money, pay the HECS and help that off, or maybe
they need to travel.
I like the intent, but there's other complexities that walk in the door as well. And we'll assume, Vince, that there might be 65 or 67 and just or I don't know, 5 years out of age 67. If they're wanting to knock on the door of any Centrelink benefits, the gifting will potentially catch them out, and whether you gift equity, however that works, or hard cash or property or shares, it will all get caught as a gift.
The one exception to that rule is the parental guarantee approach, where you guarantee the kids' equity. So they have to qualify for the loan on their own good, but you're going to provide a guarantee to means they don't need a deposit. That can be a really good way, as long as you're comfortable with putting the family home or your investment property or the family home at risk. It does sort of quarantine the risk, and the odds are, since our home loan default rate is sub 2% in Australia, the odds are that you'll never actually have to stump up with the cash. But you could do. May leave you less able to recover something if the kids get divorced. It's unlikely to catch your gifting problem because it's presuming you're doing it on your family home. If you give them a property which you have some equity in, you might have some stamp duty, and of course the gifting rules might apply if you're close to age pension qualification. Handing over cash is another way of doing it, where if your kids aren't married, that's pretty clean and neat. If they're married, there's obviously issues. Well, do you want to preserve some of it in the event that they get divorced? And much of my take on this, I know this is unpopular in legal circles, but I don't think we should, as parents, and I think I can put myself in that category. It's it's an odd position to be making a gift to your kids and then putting conditions and ability to claw it back. It all just seems a bit distasteful to me.
So, so are you saying that in legal circles, when you give the gift, quote unquote, it's actually documented as a loan?
Or there's some security taken or some caveat or some documentation that it needs to be returned in the event of certain things happening.
Yeah. But if we go to whatever the situation is, Lee wants to give money to their adult children for an investment property.
Yep, it's your money. Do what you want.
I mean, the pros are you're giving money away and it feels good. You've wanted to help your child. That's all well and good. The pros can be as long as you need. It sets the kids up, all that stuff. So I just think the other side of the coin is one that we need to talk about more. Does the child want an investment property? Are you saying you need to buy an investment property, I'll give you the money, they're tied to this mortgage, it won't be positively geared? Is it actually causing annoyance to the child because they didn't really want an investment property? I don't know. They're kind of the red flag discussion things.
And looked at from the kids' perspective, because we obviously deal with a lot of people who are getting support from the bank and mum and dad to usually buy their first home rather than investment property, but works both ways. That, from the kids' perspective, is this giving mum or gran a perfect excuse to interfere in your day-to-day spending habits? And is Lee seeking to exercise those sort of things? Because it is quite easy to, at the Christmas barbecue, to go, well, what are you spending all that money on Uber Eats for? Oh, I've just given you $250,000. I don't want to see you pissing it up against the wall. So these are full of family dynamics. So this is as much a psychology question as it is a money question.
And I think you're right there with the gifted equity. It might be better to do a parental guarantee on the investment property if the kid does want a property. Or, as you did, just pay the LMI or whatever. I don't know.
And, of course, with the new government scheme, I wouldn't even have to do that. The government were going to stump up with the $30,000.
That's right. So anyway, my advice, because Lee said any advice, welcome please, just make sure that your child is on the same page.
Yeah.
Because
I think tread carefully is the answer.
They might froth on getting a portfolio of shares as a gift, as an investment, and they might not. They could have, and we'll talk about this after the break, Vince, they could be a hardcore socialist or communist child who doesn't like investment properties because everyone who has an investment property is evil.
Isn't every 18-year-old a communist?
I think so. And so it could be, it's like, make a number up. If you wanted to give $100,000 of equity, they might value $100,000 in shares or to see their superannuation, maybe not an investment property. Hey, it's Glen here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money, Money, Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.